makes the math make sense. Robert, appreciate it. Joining me now, I have Majid Sadeghpour, political director for the Organization of Iranian-American Communities. And I also have Andrew Peek, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Iraq and Iran and director of the Atlantic Council's National Security Resilience Initiative. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you as well. Andrew, you had a front row seat to Iran's tactics from your time at the State Department. How are you weighing this temporary pause in fighting, especially as Iranian missiles, are still falling this morning?
Yeah, the two sides are still pretty far apart on at least the two files that you mentioned, the Lebanon piece, and exactly if how ships are going to be allowed to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Are they going to have to pay the Iranians or not? That's not uncommon for this point in negotiations, nor is it uncommon for the two sides to keep shooting a few last shots, especially since it's not clear exactly how coherent Iran's command and control is. It's not clear if there's a central firing authority or if there are a few regional commanders firing missiles. I think there's going to be a real test in the next 1 to 3 days when some kind of ships with some kind of foreign escort, the U.S. or someone else, is going to try to sail through the strait, almost certainly without paying the Iranians. And then we're going to see if the Iranians are willing to restart the fighting on the basis of them being able to toll ships coming through the strait.
Majid, we didn't see Iranian missiles just in Israel. You have Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar also issued alerts and activated defense. Do you think this ceasefire, talk to me just about the fragility of this ceasefire deal. And do you think it's going to collapse much sooner than a 2-week deadline?
A great question. Actually, this is great news, and I hope this ceasefire will lead to the end of the war and paves the way for peace and freedom. But really, the golden age that the president mentioned, an ending of the threat of the regime, requires fundamental regime change in Iran. And that, in turn, requires an organized force on the ground, an Iranian organized force to fight the regime. And that force has existed for decades, more than 45 years, in an organized opposition that's fighting the regime for decades. So for this fragile circumstance to end, this regime must go in its entirety. And that's the only scenario we'll see in golden age in the Middle East. And that will have to be done by the people of Iran.
Hannah, let me bring you back in from the White House, because Iran state media has published its 10-point plan to accept the war's conclusion. That includes Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz, lifting all primary and secondary sanctions on Iran, I believe back to George W. Bush's administration, if I'm correct there, and also the acceptance of enrichment for its nuclear program. I mean, Hannah, these all seem like non-starters for the White House.
That's right, Marky. And negotiations are still underway. You heard it from the vice president just moments ago when he talked about we're still leading these tough negotiations. And he even said, the United States still has military options. We still have the upper hand. What we've been hearing from the White House is they see this as a win because they believe Iran is significantly weakened from where it started. That's the argument they're making going into this ceasefire. They say this is something only President Trump could have gotten done. That's the argument we're hearing from them. But a lot of eyes are on what happens next in negotiations and what the final agreement results in, what abilities Iran has to give up, what concessions they might have to make. Because at this point, what we're seeing from Iran and what they've agreed to isn't any different from what we started the conflict with the exception of the United States saying, they're militarily weakened. They have less ballistic missile capabilities, less nuclear capabilities. They say they're now farther from a nuclear weapon. But there are certainly other objectives that the United States has pointed to that they haven't announced that they've accomplished yet, Marky.
Yeah. And Andrew, as it pertains to the possibility of leaving that enriched uranium there, I mean, this entire war has been built on not allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon or nuclear program. I can't imagine we would have done all of this only to leave that there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the White House has a fair point, which is that if you could 3 weeks ago gone to them and say, well, we'll accept degradation of Iran's military capabilities and the destruction of its Air Force and Navy and the destruction of its missile production plants and bury the remaining fissile material, the fissile nuclear material, deeper under the mountains in Isfahan and elsewhere, and you get the Strait of Hormuz open, which is what we basically have now, then you would sort of consider that a win. I mean, if that was the deal a week ago, you'd consider it a win. Yes, it is not as good as Iran handing over the nuclear material to somebody, to us, to a third party. But that's been on the table before in negotiations, that there would be this kind of pass off of a lot of the enriched material. Let's see if you get the degradation of the military capabilities, and in the discussions over the 10 points, they can come back to that solution where they're handing off some of the fissile material. Then I think it would be fair to call that a win.
And Majid, what do you think it was yesterday that actually brought Iran to the negotiating table? Was it the president's rhetoric early yesterday morning saying an entire civilization was going to die? And also, how was that received by Iranians?
Right. Really, the main concern of the regime in Iran is its own defiant population. Mind you, over the past week, it executed 11 people. Some of them were killed for attempting to obtain arms during the uprising. So it's an indicator that the regime is afraid of another round of uprising in Iran, and certainly, and also an indicator that the people of Iran have been arming themselves for a long time. Iran is not in the regime. Iran is its people, and the people of Iran have been fighting to overthrow this regime for 45 years. They have an organized resistance in the National Council of Resistance of Iran. I think the solution, the final solution for all of this would be to end this regime by the people of Iran and their organized resistance. That's really the only and least costly alternative for all of mankind.
Well, there's a lot more questions that need answering here. And of course, we'll be taking that Pentagon press briefing live as soon as it happens in just a couple hours from now. Andrew Peek, Majid Sadeghpour, thank you both for your time.